start off by saying that opposition is painful and lonely. We know this. Good friends don't pick up calls. They ignore us and they find new friends. We are living it. We feel it every day. And surely, none of us wants to remain there. We want power to serve, to transform lives, and to move Ghana forward. But power does not come through division. Power comes through discipline. Power comes through unity. Power comes through sacrifice. Let's note, the history of this tradition teaches us a simple truth. Whenever the NPP is united, it is formidable, and whenever it is divided, it bleeds, and Ghana pays the price. Remember the 1979 election, the PFP and the UNC. The rest we all know. Factionalism may energize internal contests, but it weakens the party's capacity to win national election and to govern effectively. And I was saddened hearing that the respected Professor Frimpong Boateng saying publicly that he did not vote in 2024 elections. This is what division can do to us. It's unfortunate. Unity is not a slogan. Unity is conduct. It is a discipline to disagree without destroying one another. The humility to accept outcomes we may not like, and the maturity to place the national project above personal disappointment. Every single insult traded, every unsubstantiated allegation, every attempt to demonize a rival today becomes a weapon in our opponent's hand tomorrow.
Let me be clear. The NPP is bigger than any individual. No ambition, grievance, or faction is greater than the elephant. Leadership contests must never weaken the collective cause. Unity is not optional. Unity is not a slogan. Unity is a strategic necessity for victory.
The NPP is bigger than any individual. No ambition, grievance, or faction is greater than the elephant. Leadership context must never weaken the collective cause. That is profound. And that's just all the NPP needs to work towards a good election in 2028. But will that happen? That's the fear. There's a fear of implosion as they trade insults, adults who are seeking, the delegates' votes and seeking to become president of this country, trading insults. Next week, by this time, voting would have happened about 1 hour into the voting, and the state is involved because the people who are paid with our money, the police officers, there will be as many as 70 to 150 officers at each polling center or voting center, supervising the 211,849 eligible voters who are expected to be at 333 polling centers. So if you're having in the least about 50 police officers or 70 in the least at each polling center, imagine what that number will be, 335 multiplied by that, and you see how much the state is investing in the elections. The Electoral Commission officials will do it. So this is not about NPP, it's also about the state Ghana. It's only 7 days to go. And that's how we start our discussion this morning. My guests are right here in the studio, and get ready for a show that you will enjoy, a very memorable one. Inus Ofori-Atta is former MP Tamale Central and former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. He was also Minister for the roads sector. Hassan Tampuli is MP Gushon and Deputy Ranking Member, Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. Okay, so the sector I just spoke about, he was also there briefly. That's transport, and has been at the MPA. He will assist us to understand this, floor price. That Star Oil says, kick it off so I can give, people lower prices to buy the fuel. What is the problem with that? Professor Ransford Jampo is Professor of Political Science and he's CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority. Kwabena Bonfet Jr. Dr. Kwabena Bonfet Jr. is lecturer, UPSA, and he's CEO of Census. And Paul Adomochre, who is supposed to be here, he's late, host of the Good Evening Ghana and news reporter. Of course, you know that philosophically, he leans to the NPP, and he will have some good information to share with us as far as the flag bearership contest is concerned. He's been hosting almost all the flag bearers and their spokespersons in the course of the month. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Newsfile.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So we heard Nana Akufo-Addo. Maybe we start from that point. He says that the NPP is bigger than any individual. No ambition, grievance, or faction is greater than the elephant. And the leadership contest must never weaken the collective cause. That's what I think it's all the NPP needs to succeed, right? Hassan Tampuli.
Thank you very much, Samson. Good morning and good morning to your listeners and then to panelists. I think that the choice of words of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, sums it all up. The NPP has always been a party of contests. And when we go to contests, it's so vigorous. Sometimes you find friends, go to contests and they don't, it's no holds barred situation, all right? So they go at each other, finish, and then when we come back, we unite as one party. It's happened in the past.
So I'm just taking a preliminary comment around, and I'll come back. You take your time and discuss it at length.
It's happened in the past when Dr. John Selby, Professor Dubois and co, Dr. Joseph Ofori-Atta and co contested it for the 1992 elections. And then also you had those who contested for 1996 elections and then 2000 elections and so on and so forth. So at the end of it all, we have to come back together as one united party with a common agenda, capture political power from the NDC, and then to implement our ideology. Basically, that's what it is. So, Matthew Macau.
People say if you look at even the fiscal posture of the candidates, particularly the front runners at the peace pact signing ceremony, it can tell you that all is not well. And, mending the cracks after Saturday is going to be difficult.
Now, that should tell you the real wisdom behind the choice of 31st January as the date for our Congress, at least 3 years before the elections. I mean, some of these things, assuming that it had happened a year, 24 months or 12 months before the next elections, how do we go through the process of mending the cracks and all of that? So it's good that we are having it early enough so that we give ourselves enough time to be able to build bridges, reach out.
Chairman of the committee is suggesting that if there is money, there is vote buying in the process, the election will be annulled. I think you should annul the election before it starts.
Why? Why should we annul the election?
Do you think the election can survive money exchanging hands?
So what happens typically is that we normally we support the delegates with some kind of transportation. Now, some delegates leave their homes. For instance, in my constituency, from one end of the constituency to the other is about 106 kilometers. Now, going to Ofori-Atta is 77 kilometers. You can put that in context. Then you understand how far it is. Somebody travels that long distance. I mean, the person has to use his or her own money. You have to find a way to cushion the person, provide lunch or some meals for the person. These are party people. They don't have to go and sacrifice for the party at their own expense. So basically, these are some things just to cushion them.
You know the fact that this is their cocoa season, and each candidate will be giving. In the last election, flag bearer race, we saw it, particularly between Baumia and Ken Ejapong.
Okay.
That the delegates were voting and were taking envelopes from each, candidate. So this is not coordinated. And there are people who step out of their houses, their homes, and the voting booth is right there. And yet they are taking 1,000. We heard some place that they were supposed to give 2,000. Somebody gave 2,000. Somebody gave 1,000, and there were these complaints.
And that's a difficulty
that's
we have.
clearly not transportation.
That's a difficulty that we have sometimes. Now they are all delegates, equal rights and equal voting rights. Everybody has a single vote. Somebody comes from a far distance. Another person just lives next to the polling station. You can't even begin to prorate and say that I will give you maybe 100 cities and give this other person because he's coming from a further distance, 500 cities. No, delegates will not understand. So you have to give a uniform amount across. Otherwise, you suffer, some,
All right, so you hold your thoughts there. Professor Jampo, no one is bigger than the party, no ambition, grievance or faction is greater than it. And this contest must never weaken the collective cause. The right words, typical of Nana Akufo-Addo. But will it translate?
Well, clearly, President Akufo-Addo is noted for making great speeches. And so this is typical of him. But as to whether the aspirants would pay heed to what is said or not is a different, matter. As to whether he still has the weight and the gravitas in the party to be able to command listenership within and amongst the aspirants is something that must be looked at. But Samson, clearly, I believe that what happened and what I saw was good for the optics. Seeing very seasoned old politicians all being marshaled or being brought together to meet with aspirants and to prevail on them to sign a pact, a peace pact. I thought it was good, but I kept wondering that all these experienced politicians, have they always been around? I mean, sometimes I see the conduct of those who are running the party now, a conduct that radically departs from how the BJ Daroches ran the party, the conduct that departs radically from how the Odoi Sykes, the Alajitis, the Ejenim Wattens, how they ran the party. I keep asking myself, but where have they always been in not reining in some of these people who show exuberance? The other point I want to make as a preliminary comment is, yes, I agree with the wisdom in trying to do what they want to do Saturday. But at the same time, I also feel that it shows a certain upside-down thinking. Who want to construct a huge story building without digging down a solidified foundation? Who does that? All over the world, I know that both doctrinal and mass political parties are powered by their base. So if you yourself, you argue that in the previous election, your own base did not vote for you, or your own base decided not to vote, then if you are trying to contest another election, it behoves on you to do, in my view, what is necessary and what is important, rebrand and rejuvenate your base. And so given the kind of defeat suffered, I would have gone for the rebuilding.
You'll go to your substantive submission soon,
yes,
but because of
yes.
the point you raised, Akosua Frema Osel Pare, former Chief of Staff, made this statement that appears to support what Hassan Tampili had said. She said, "In my work as a chairperson of the party's Conflict Resolution Committee from 2010 to 2020, it became clear that our losses in elections can be largely linked to the many internal conflicts within the party and our inability to heal faster. They say this top-down approach is intended to give them room to heal fast.
But the essence of forming a political party and the essence of what they are doing is to be able to win an election. And you cannot win an election without your base. It's your base that, when properly rejuvenated, would help you to win an election. And so, for me, a coin has two sides. I see the argument in saying that let us do this now so that we can heal faster. But at the same time, if you select a flag bearer now and the base is also not properly constituted and all that, it could also spell doom for you.
Okay.
But so if there will be a way to ensure that even though for me this should have been the last
right. In 30 seconds, will this election survive Osei-Owusu's, declaration?
But I thought you rightly pointed that out, that then it's going to be very difficult for them. They should be bracing themselves to just annul the election, because we've had promises that the election is going to be raided with treating. We call it in Ghana monetization or monocracy. Yeah. But treating is the key word. Yeah. Treating in politics refers to the illegal act of providing food, drinks, and money or entertainment before, during, and after an election with the corrupt intent of influencing voters' choice. And the practice is considered a form of bribery or corruption aimed at swaying electoral outcomes through improper influence rather than merit.
And it's clearly prohibited by our laws.
So the point is that
these have been in power. They were distributing food on election day. Monsignor is here. They were distributing food.
So the point is that
election has been
our elections over the
everybody
years.
Everybody does that.
Well, but the fact that everybody does it does not make it right.
Elections
over the years have been riddled with treating. And so when I heard that statement coming from Joe Osei-Owusu, I laughed and I said, well, let's hope and see how they will be able to set the right example so that all political parties would follow.
All right.
But it's going to be a tall order for them.
Okay, Dr. Bonfe.
Well, I have a gift for the NPP, particularly sounding the note for unity. Coincidentally, the Seventh-day Adventist Church daily Sabbath school reading this week focused on unity through humility. Unity through humility. And that point must be made, that if we can give up the perverted view of unity coming through some aggressive, or if you like, showmanship, it will not work. It is only when we are humble and show humility. And humility simply means descending or condescending from where you ordinarily, properly may have been, to take a position for the overall attainment of a bigger object. And that is what Paul talks about in the book of Philippians 2, verse 5 to 10. Was the Christ mind. That as Christians, we believe though was God, equal with the Father, came and took on the form of a human being and died, even the death of shame, so that he could nail sin and death into their rightful places so that we can have eternal life. And that's what he offers. So what am I driving at? We need to all accept that it is not just the NPP that requires unity, but this country called Ghana. Right from independence, we've been divided about the most essential things, key building the nation. We cannot all have one mind or be, say, if you like, robots. But being in one mind simply means agreeing on the things that are essential to us. And one thing to do is to avoid the triggers of disunity, key among which lies and hatred. And in this book, Stephen Davis tells us these two, vices, lies and hatred, they work together, and when they have combined, their aim is simple. They work to overthrow, to attack, to maim, and if possible, kill the truth and any life-giving thing. That is what must be the focus. And I think that at the end of the day, they know what it is. Their rules are clear. The lawyers here will tell us better that you don't legislate that which cannot be obeyed. I have had the privilege and the opportunity to run a party. Sometimes the theories are not the same as the practice. So I say that whether it is bottom up or top down, it is not so much what you do as how you execute it and guide it. It is not so much what is done, but how it is done. The before, the during, and then the after. That is what, creates cohesion. One can do bottom up and fail. Someone will do top down and succeed. Vice versa. So the important thing is that what are you putting into it? And how sincere are we?
Okay.
Ghana's biggest problem, and perhaps just I am looking at it from a wider perspective, because what is happening to the NPP may just be symptomatic of what is happening to the general country.
So we interrogate that because obviously Professor Gyampo will not let this go, because that's a point that he stresses more forcefully. Let me come to...
So if I would just make the last point, I think that the NPP as a political party knows what is good for them. The important thing is to walk the talk.
Exactly.
Okay.
We know what is good for us. You decided that you are saying no.
Well, you said it very clearly. That Nana Akufo-Addo, and then supported by the good old prof. That Nana Akufo-Addo is noted for grandstanding. He will make all the speeches, but he never believes in those speeches.
I'm sure they are tapping each other and asking if it's the beard that makes him old. Because he's not old. He's a very young man. And he said a good old prof.
I mean, his status as professor and lecturer.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Now, so you see, he believes in grandstanding. And anytime he gives a speech, watch it. It's just grandstanding. From vigilantes to new civilization, when he was swearing in Gloria Sophia Akufu, you watch it, grandstanding. Because everybody knows that the party is a collection, an organization of people of shared beliefs.
That's not fair to him. You are not
what
in
are
his
the shared
heart.
beliefs?
You are not in his heart. You don't know what he's saying. He's convinced by them. But all of us know in this country that Akufo-Addo has the gift of the gab. And he's able to sway you, and that's how he got onto the political scene and got all of us, excited towards the, election that brought him to office.
It's true, he got us excited by those words that he uttered. So he's a good orator. But does he implement what he says? See, the hatta got everybody excited. So I'm saying that you find grandstand. I can give you numerous examples. I've stated him. I can give you numerous examples. But let's come back to it. What he has said is known to all politicians and people who study politics. Because the NPP is a collection of people of shared beliefs. And what are these shared beliefs? They have shared position on values. What values should animate their party? They have norms that regulate and guide the party. The NPP itself has a culture, and the people who subscribe to it share in that culture. They believe in certain principles. Okay, they have a philosophy. So if you subscribe to the values, the norms, the culture, the principles, the philosophy, then you have to subordinate your individual interest to the interest of the party. Who doesn't know this? Who doesn't know this? I mean, just like if you are a Ghanaian and you take the oath that you are a Ghanaian, I mean, you can hold yourself above the country. So a collection of people within a defined territory calling themselves Ghanaians, nobody within that territory can say that he's higher than Ghana. You subordinate your individuality. So we all know that. But we must interrogate the NPP. And if you interrogate the NPP, and particularly what happened yesterday, you will see that the fractures in the NPP are deeper than meet the eye. Where were the Council of Elders sitting of their party? Where were they sitting?
Sitting arrangement too is a problem.
It's a problem.
Sitting arrangement.
Yes, it's a problem. These are optics. Where were the different factions within the party? And we know that this party, the NPP, is heavily fractured. There are people within the party presently who are fighting to win back the soul and essence of the NPP. Were they represented? Did you see them?
Who are these people?
Oh, I can mention many. I can mention Nyawu Tamaklo. I can mention many. I can mention just recently Professor Frimpong Boateng.
Atta Kennedy, Nyawu Tamaklo, Professor Frimpong Boateng. Which NPP events in the last, say, 10 years have you really seen them at?
Which NPP event have they been invited to?
Do they have to be invited? I
thought that what you did yesterday was on invitation.
No, I have to. If you feel very strong as a party person,
you better ask whether they have actually been invited and whether there is a conscious, deliberate effort to build an inclusive party. That's what you should be asking. And whether what we saw yesterday is not a perpetuation of a single dominant group within the party, and that would militate against their stated intention to heal the party after Congress.
Okay.
And then let me just say, when I heard you read about the former chief of staff, I said, how can a party be thinking of healing, curative, instead of preventive in pursuing its policy? How can the party be thinking that way? It's what? That even before going into elections, you are saying that we will have so many differences in the party that we need to heal. And that's what Bonfe is telling you, that you should design a process that limits the ability of people to fall out, to invite you to come into a healing process. And that I don't see the preventive. And you can see the suspicion that animated the whole process.
Is it
okay.
That's preliminary.
Right.
That's preliminary.
It's
when
fine.
We come to the
It's fine. But do you sincerely believe that what Jose Usu said will be implemented?
In the last primaries, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia spent not less than 4.8 million Ghana cedis on the election day. What do you call that?
To that?
But by the amount of money that he publicly stated.
How much did he give?
No, but the amount, I calculated it. And if you go back and calculate, but the amount of money he publicly, 4.8, not less than 4.8 million Ghana cedis.
Million Ghana cedis.
Yes.
But that's small. That's small amount. That's not sufficient. For these their elections, I've heard some of the leaders, including some of the aspirants, I've heard some of them calculate how much they have targeted to spend. And it's far more than what you're talking about, more than 3 times.
So if that is the floor,
so that's what I was saying.
If that is the floor, then you can imagine that what the ceiling will be. If that is floor, because you are looking at 211,800 and over delegates. Just multiply
because the amount you're talking about is like for an MP election, not a national election.
So that means we really have a problem. Mm-hmm. We really have a problem in this country that you can classify 4-point-something million Ghana cedis spent by an individual who is contesting an election as being small. When the party itself is the organization conducting the elections. When members of the party have contributed through their dues and fees to the party, when candidates have paid filing fees to be able to contest the elections, and an individual outside all these expenditures is spending that amount of money, and you still say it's small. Now, so you see, as a country, and that's why we are getting, every day we are getting into problems. We consider these things as de minimis.
No, but even if you look at
that's a problem.
If you look, for example, Brian Champong has disclosed publicly that he personally funded 62 NPP members of parliament with 20,000 cedis each month from 2021 until the party lost power in 2025. That's amounting to almost 50 or 60 plus million Ghana cedis in total, right?
I agree with you. So I went ahead, Brian Champong, say that.
And that's for just one region.
No, I had my head. I said, well, the Internal Revenue, now Ghana Revenue Authority, probably must be running after Brian Champong. Not so. Because we know that Brian Champong is into the hospitality industry. We also know that he was a minister. He publicly stated that he spent this amount of money on delegates. If that is true, the GRA must be running after him. It means that...
No, but he has sources that can afford much more than what he's talking about.
What sources?
Are these two the only sources that you know that he has money from?
You haven't forgotten Article 286 of the Constitution?
Yes, big businesses in this country.
Yes, so has he paid the requisite...
but the GRA hasn't said he owes...
So that's why I'm saying the GRA should be running after him.
Why should they run after him if they don't have any issues with him?
Really?
Yes, that's a presumption you are making, though.
Really?
Paul Admochi joins us. And let's continue from there, and perhaps let's begin substantively. Paul, you have been speaking to these candidates, 5 of them. You've been speaking to their spokespersons, and I see you interrogate them often. Now, does it sound to you like the party is ready for what Nana Akufo-Addo speaks about? That no one individual is bigger than the party, no grievance, no ambition is bigger than the party, and the contest should not weaken the collective cause?
Well, thank you very much, Samson, and good morning to all our viewers. I'm excited to see some of our compatriots from way back here in the studio. Permits me to say that. Of course, I mean Ransford Jampo, who else? And Inusa Fuseni and Hassan Tampuli. Kabila is also good. Thank you very much, Samson, for the invite. And I'm very happy to be here. Now, what this Congress is doing, there's only one thing that Ghanaians need to observe, both political parties from this Congress, to make a determination, because I've covered many Congresses. The atmosphere before the Congress is not different. What is different is that I'll be enumerating how the NPP has been voting for their Congresses over a long period. What we need to look at is the electoral college that is going to do this election. For those of us who have been looking at Congresses for many years, the electoral college may be shifting in terms of its demographics. If you look at the Electoral Commission role for voters, 58% of voters in 2012 were below the age of 35 to 1835, 58%. Then in 2016, 62%. Then in 2024, 78%. That's telling. And that is what we need to observe this NPP Congress, to see whether the youth vote is affecting not just the national electoral roll, but the delegates' electoral roll.
Are they having some new albums?
No, they have the old album.
Yes,
the old album they used in 2023.
Exactly. So
that's why I said two things.
So the statistics don't change.
Yes, whether the youth are able to now affect it. And I say that because if you look at the NPP history...
You mean non-delegates?
Yes, non-delegates.
Affecting
yes, whether
the
non-delegates' youth opinion can change what the delegates are going to elect, or whether the youth themselves have become delegates. I'll give you one example, maybe a few more. In 1998, when Akufo-Addo ran against Kufuor for the NPP Congress, the large youth were on the side of this change agenda, radicalism, let's change our party. That's not the first time it happened. It happened before, but I can talk about 98. I attended the Congress as a student reporter, and I found Professor Edubuahin sitting by himself at the catering guest house in Sunyani sometime around midday of the day of the Congress. And I approached him. Because I was a student, I began the conversation from there. He asked me who were my lecturers, and I told him, and we started talking. And then he asked me, what do I think is going to happen? And I said, oh, we all expect Akufo-Addo to win. He smiled. I said, well, Akufo-Addo may be the man of the moment, my friend, but this is a conservative party. They may not elect him. I just chuckled and said, well, you are the prof. When I walked out of the catering guest center, just walking outside on the streets before, I saw about 3 or 4 buses with young people chanting Akufo-Addo slogans. There were about 4 buses. Later, I found they were from Sunyani Polytechnic. And I said to myself that, oh, Prof should come and see. And then he will see that Akufo-Addo will win. What I didn't know, and what we all didn't know, that those people in the buses were not delegates. They were chanting slogans. They occupied the room. The atmosphere in the room was charged, but they were not delegates. So that's 1998.
And then what happened?
And then Kufuor was elected, as Edubuahin predicted. Kufuor was elected in 1998. He was elected by 62%.
So you meant to say Kufuor when you said Akufo-Addo?
No, I said we supported Akufo-Addo.
He supported Akufo-Addo.
We as Akufo-Addo people, we came all the way from Commonwealth Hall to Sunyani. We were brutal Akufo-Addo supporters. And we had voices, and we chanted. What we didn't know is that we were not delegates, and we didn't have the right to elect anybody. What we have to find out on 31st January is whether that process has changed or whether it is the same. Now, in recent periods since Edubuahin, the first time the NPP Congress, high-profile Congress, went to elect somebody and gave us an upset result, upset in quote, was a 2022 contest between John Buedu and Kodia. Okay. That's the first time the NPP since the Edubuahin era gave that situation where everybody thought the establishment, but then Kodia came out to win. That's the first time it happened. I have been looking at that, and I suspect that was 2022. I suspect that may have influenced the Bawumia people, because when the campaign of 24 started, they were the first to do this youth thing, separating youth. 2024 was the first campaign where we saw a designated campaign for youth, different from the rest of the people. We didn't see that. So Bawumia started it. Then John Mahama did the youth manifesto. So it will be clear that there's a certain response to the youth in 2024 and in 2022. What we are waiting to see next Saturday is what happens. And before we see that, we then have to decide on the 2 candidates who are contesting. Who is the youthful candidate? Who is the candidate the youth wants? Who is the candidate for change? That's going to be interesting to decide, and it is interesting to determine how the delegates are thinking about it. Because whilst Mahamudu Bawumia is the younger person, he appears to be coming from an incumbency establishment situation, even in this election. It would have been possible for him to turn himself into a change candidate, but that has been very difficult. So he doesn't control 100% of the change emotion and the change sentiment. So we have to wait to see how much percentage he controls. Now, if you look at that and you look at the results of the election, then you have to wait for the NPP Congress to see whether the Ghanaian electoral situation is shifting in favor of the loud voices of the youth, whether they have that influence or they don't.
So you completely avoided my question, but this is good. Let's stay where you are. Let's stay where you are. So bottom line, what's the point? That the front runners, Ken and Bawumia, who in your view fits the description of the popular from the youth, so to speak, who may not have a vote, and whose shouting and noise may not amount to anything, as your encounter with Edubuahin reflected?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that we have to wait to see whether the encounter with Edubuahin will reflect in this election. But I noticed that in 2022, the NPP did something else, different from what they had done since Edu Boahen. And if you take a person like Nana Akufo-Addo, for instance, he has been a change agent and also a conservative candidate. In one election, he was a change radical agent. In another election, he was a conservative candidate. So you can look at that. But we have to wait for the voting. And the louder, they say the grassroots, that's what they call them. The grassroots are calling for Ken. The grassroots are calling for Ken. But Dr. Bawumia is youthful. So does Ken truly have 100% of the youth votes? Does he have 70%? Does he have 75%? And if he does, has the youth vote metamorphosed from just talking into actually having influence over delegates?
Maybe let's get a bit scientific, because Info Analytics, very reliable, has consistently pulled Bawumia far ahead. So how does that, reflect in the analysis that you project?
Info Analytics on 19th January pulled Bawumia at 57%, Kennedy at 32%, 9% for Brian and the rest. That's 19th January. 20th January, Info Analytics pulls Bawumia at 56%, Ken at 30%, and 11% for the rest. On 23rd, which is the latest, Info Analytics pulls Bawumia at 57% and 28% for Ken. Evans Dua, another pollster, lesser known, but who has been captured even on Joy News, I was watching this morning, pulls Kennedy Ejapon at 52%, 52.59%, and has Bawumia at 36%. The polls from Musa Dankwa suggest that Mahamudu Bawumia is going to win. But I'm worried about the Musa Dankwa polls because I have looked at the trend of the NPP primaries. And most candidates, all of them, if I not most, from Kufuor, most candidates, when they attempt the presidency within the NPP for the first time, and they are coming for the second time, they have always increased their votes within the NPP contest. That's a matter of record. So Kufuor moved in 1996 by beating Edu Boahen from 50-something and to beating Akufo-Addo by 60%.
So that aligns with Musa Dankwa's polling?
No, that doesn't. Musa Dankwa is polling Bawumia at 57 from 60 the last time. So Bawumia will be, if Bawumia wins at 57, there's a concern that must be dealt with because the NPP.
The point is that he has led with a gap. That is difficult to
I'm not talking about Bawumia winning anymore. I'm worried about the percentage because this is not the trend. The trend of NPP internal elections has been that you go first time, you get 60%, you don't win. You come second time, you do better. Akufo-Addo got 49% the first time in 2007. The next one, he got 84%. So if Mahamudu Bawumia has won by 60%, and Musa Dankwa's post is showing him coming below 60%, that's a concern.
And yet leading, that's the important factor.
That's not the factor. All the people I'm talking about have led. They led Congress 1, won, led Congress 2, won. But in Congress 2,
the Evans Dua polling,
yes.
How believable is it for you? How credible is it for you? He's not known anyway, so he's not been tested.
I interviewed him, and he said to me that he has interviewed 30,000 odd individuals. I found that incredible. I questioned him about it. He said it is true. When he held his press conference at the British Council, he told the media that he had also recorded most of these interviews and invited them to have a look at it. So I don't know. Musa Dankwa has been successful with 2024's election, so you can't write him off. But all I'm saying is that if Musa Dankwa's polling are what it is, for me, it's not just about Bawumia winning. It's about a deeper crunching of the data to determine where really the NPP is.
All right. So you have done 10 minutes of your substantive point rendition. Yes. So you hold on there. You hold on there. We come.
Okay.
What do you want to say? Do I get a sense that from where you sit, Ken will take it? Do I get a sense that that's what you're communicating right now?
What I'm saying is that I don't know who will take it, but I'm waiting to see how it turns out to fit it into the analysis of the data that I'm doing. If it goes Ken's way, it will mean that the voices outside the delegates have now begun to influence.
From what you know and what you have known about the NPP politics particularly, because you're deep within there and you have your ears on the ground with the people who matter in the NPP.
Yes.
Is it going to be a difficult election for Bawumia?
Well, from what we had been gathering from delegates, yesterday I spoke to people in my constituency in Ejuso, and Bawumia had done 66% in Ashanti in the last time. They don't think he may get 66%. Kennedy Japan has held Central Region and Volta Region. Now, even for my friends who are Bawumia people, like Hassan Tampuli and all those my good friends in Bawumia, and I love them, they even think that Ken still has Greater Accra and Volta. That's a concern. Bawumia will need to pick up Ashanti heavy and pick up Eastern as well. So it is looking like if Bawumia wins, and he may win, he's not going to achieve the 60% that he got the last time.
Okay.
For me, that's very, very important.
All right, thank you. So, yes, Hassan, we'll go across the table this same way. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting perspectives coming through. But I think I need to speak to some of the issues that my big brother Mbe Inusa raised about the monies that are being spent. The last NDC presidential primaries, President Mahama gave each delegate 40 Ghana cedis, and it's on record. Every delegate, and there were about 300,000 or so, or not, I'm sure they probably are even more. 40 cedis, 40 Ghana cedis each.
That was chicken change compared to
at the time.
What was given by NPP candidates.
Spent 200 cedis per delegate. All right, this is like 2022 we're talking about here. So when we sit here and then we are analyzing matters like this, we should give the whole picture. Let everybody understand that, look, I'm talking about NPP, but this has happened in my party as well.
That sounded more realistic to TNT than when your people were fighting over somebody gave, is it 1,000, someone should give 2,000, and I got 1,000 instead of 2,000. We saw them grabbing the envelopes.
I'm just making
I've asked my producers to look for those
in the last presidential
and the people who were talking about those
Bawumia did not spend 500 cedis, he didn't even spend 400 cedis in the last presidential primaries. They spend that amount of money.
The OSP actually had to go after some of these people.
That's what I'm saying. It's all right. I mean, you can easily find out some of this information. He didn't even spend that amount that we are talking about. You understand? So please,
he spent less than what you say, John Mahama and.
So now we are doing comparatives.
No, I want to know from you.
So see, everybody is guilty. That's what I'm saying. And Professor Jambo here,
since you know with exactitude, how much
food on the day of election,
you should be in a better place to know exactly how much you spend. How much did Bawumia spend?
So he is validating the president's election. As he sits here,
but the point, you answer my question.
He is validating the president's election, and you want to remain in office as CEO of Shippers Authority. The president, NDC distributed food. My big brother here. And they gave people money on the day of elections. So if we are going to talk about some of these things that will create problems,
that's electoral.
You understand? Then it will give us a lot of problems as party. And it comes back to the point, I'll let you come in. It comes back to the point that my brother, Commander Doffer, was talking about. We've passed some laws in this country that we don't intend to implement, and we don't even have the capacity to implement. So that should, tell us that we have to look at some of these situations. But I will allow you to come in.
What I wanted to say was that, you see, I made the point quite clearly. I mean, I wasn't ambiguous about that. That our elections, historically, have been riddled with cheating.
That's true. That's
what I said.
Yes.
And so, but we cannot sit here and then. My point I was making was for us to institute measures to ensure that we minimize these things that we would not be buying conscience.
Fair point.
So it is unfair for you to say that somebody did it and so we also want to do it. I mean, how do we develop as a society?
We have to put everything in perspective. Basically, that's what. So I think we are all on the same page. But then I come back to the main points about, the chances of the various parties. Of course, since even before we won power in 2016, I've always been a Bawumia person. And in June 2018, I'd already declared for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as the logical person to lead after the expiration of the tenure of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. The point is, the polls that we are talking about I'm sure that if we had pollsters in 98, they probably would have pulled Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo as a front runner at the time, and they would have said that he would have won and so on and so forth. Polls don't...
Because of the noise the students were making.
You understand? So polls don't necessarily determine election results. If
so we should
polls were
disregard the
determined,
polls that put your candidate ahead.
I mean, the polls that we did, if there is a parliamentary election that we did in the 2024 election, we had a meeting of parliamentary candidates and the posters were giving us the numbers. There's one particular person who was polling about 91%. 91% of the total votes in his constituency. He lost the elections. He lost the elections.
But was he?
You understand? He got about 40%.
He may not.
You understand? So, in fact,
who was conducting the polls you are talking about?
It's a very credible agency.
Because ahead of the elections,
so maybe
ahead of the elections, there were all these charlatans.
I'm telling you, look, these are posters who have been doing polls for the party.
Who polled the leading victory? And it turned out to be
I'm not talking about Stoma direction polls.
Okay.
These are polls that we have relied on. Scientific polls. I'm telling you for a fact. Take it from me. With all the integrity available to me, I'm telling you this for a fact. Look, these posters come in and sometimes it's completely topsy-turvy. You don't even understand.
So what's your point?
So the point I'm making is that, look, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is winning on Saturday by the special grace of God. And it is not just about who is shouting loudest or who is insulting more vociferously. All right? It's about who the delegates see as the person who can deliver, who is a more marketable candidate, who has the temperament to lead and to absorb pressure, and who has a very active vision to spare the party and the country and to deal with challenges that we have had as a country. When you go to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign in Jomoro, and then you happen to join his campaign in Pagachiana, the message is consistent. You understand? So he's gone through this campaign with a consistent message across the country about his vision, where we are coming from, what he has done for the party, his sacrifices, and he acknowledged the sacrifice of everybody. Look, and in fact, the kind of attack that he has come under is also a test of his character as a leader. I mean, sometimes you find that one or two people would have been attacked in the course of the campaign by people that I may call, for the lack of a better word, subterraneans, not high-level personalities within the party. When they attack them, you get their reaction. Now see, even when his colleague aspirants attack him, the full glare of the public, sometimes malicious lies. Look at his body language, look at his reaction. So all of these things, so sometimes when they put him under such attack, they
Samuel tells us that as he sat at the pact signing,
yes,
he was unhappy and he told them about how he's unhappy. And his unhappiness is because some people are doing things who should have been subjected to discipline. Like Professor Frimpong Boateng, who, is facing expulsion. And yet they are not doing anything.
No, but I mean, so that was an opportunity for us to have addressed some of these challenges. And just to speak to the...
What was his expectation? What was his expectation? Like Chairman Sabonso says, that Japan attacked him unfairly on the basis of a falsehood. And then called him a liar on the back of the falsehood that was attributed to Dr. Bawumia. So what should be done to Kenneth Japan? What was he expecting?
No, you see, we had an occasion after some of these vitriolic attacks, and an occasion had been provided for us. It would have been excellent if, for instance, Honorable Kennedy Japan has seized the moment to acknowledge that the source of his information was false. And so it was on the basis of that false information that he made those comments. And he takes those comments back. But it would have been in keeping with the spirit of the moment.
But that's the individual's decision.
I'm just saying that.
Why should he be unhappy with the party leadership?
I'm still making the point. That wasn't done. We had an opportunity for leadership of the party. Acting National Chairman, General Secretary, chairman of the Council of Elders, former president, former chief of staff, and all of that, minority leader, they were all present. There should have been an occasion again for one or two amongst them, with all due respect, to have made some specific references, assuming they had to even do that, and also make reference to some attacks on the person of Honorable Kennedy Bochepon. It would have been okay. But to have left the matter as if nothing had happened, especially when it had happened just 2 or 3 days before.
But there's the other side of the argument, that there are people who speak for Bawumia who have done equally or even worse against that
That's
other
the point I'm making.
And Bawumia has not come forward, once he says something of the sort, that, it's not him. But if they are your people, you should be... taking responsibility.
So I'm saying that meeting provided us an ample opportunity, a usable opportunity, to have raised concerns about those attacks going either direction, either against Bawumia, against Kennedy Japan, against Brian, or any other person. We should have been able to speak out at that forum. That wasn't done. And I think that we missed a very excellent opportunity to have spoken to the nation that, look, we as a party do not condone some of these things, and we take an advantage to put that on record and to scold.
You do not condone them when the candidates make them, but you condone them when your supporters make them.
No, but the General Secretary, for instance, has referred the Bono Regional Chairman to the Disciplinary Committee for attacking Honorable Kennedy Japan. People have attacked Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. They have not been referred to the Disciplinary Committee. Honorable Kennedy Japan himself has attacked Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He has not been referred to the Disciplinary Committee.
He should be referred.
Professor Frimpong Boateng has said openly that he did not vote.
You sincerely believe.
Please.
You sincerely believe that a candidate a week to the election should be disciplined.
You're not making a point. I'm just saying that, for instance, Professor Frimpong Boateng has said openly, former flag bearer aspirant, has said openly that he did not vote for the NPP, in the last general election. This is a man who has benefited from the NPP during Kufuor regime. 2002, he was appointed as CEO of Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He had to quit. It took a lot of effort to get him to quit. Even in 2007, to contest the flag bearership election, he was removed from office in 2011, as you know. So this is a person who has benefited from the party. Understand? And then one day you tell us that you didn't vote for the party for whatever reason.
Because of
you don't
the
remember
divisions.
the benefits.
And he was clear about it, that people's arms were twisted. Look, and there was monetization.
How was it done?
And he's clear that it was all for Dr. Bawumia, and he's unhappy about it because it's repeating itself.
You see, they make wild allegations. They ask them for specific. How were people's arms twisted? Look, there were ministers in Nana Danko Akufo-Addo's regime who didn't support Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Nobody removed them from office. There were ministers, there were DCs, there were CEOs, there were other appointees, there were presidential staffers.
I have to go around.
Who did not support Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia?
Yes,
nothing happened to them.
You've done your time.
I'm twisted anymore.
You've done your time. Yes, Prof.
Something on data, something on global info analytics about polling.
Right.
Professor Zamposo was saying that we are not dealing with stomach direction polls, we are dealing with real scientific polls. I like to say for pollsters that in 2018 I was in America to cover the midterm election. All the polls said.
Did you know that some videos circulating on social media falsely claiming to be from Joy News and advertising some drugs are fakes? These fake videos advertise unapproved medicines using deep fakes of our presenters to endorse these medicines. Here's one example.
Blood pressure exceeds 120/80, internal organs are affected, and a stroke occurs. A famous doctor has developed a drug that prevents high blood pressure.
You can learn to spot these fake videos. Here's how. The first sign. Notice how the lips of the anchor do not exactly match the words being spoken. Also, pay attention to the Joy News logo.
Expel him. But there are people who have done worse. Nothing has happened to them. People who have done far worse have been endorsed by the party to contest as MPs and even to contest as, flag bearers. So the party is not being sincere.
Well, I think you are not wrong in coming to that conclusion about selective responses to misconduct and selective responses to some of these attacks. Yes, some may have been sanctioned, but others too may have just been allowed to go scot-free. And if you do that, then the fear and the threat for implosion or disunity, or the threat of making things difficult for them to come together after the election becomes so real. And so I can understand why some are paranoid and why some are afraid that if you don't take care, you may not be able to bring the party together, given the kinds of things that they themselves have said about themselves and against themselves. And then the kind of fodder that would be thrown to also into the body politic when the real national election is going to be conducted. Samson, I see this contest coming on 31st as a contest between science, whether methodologically flawless or sacrosanct, and prophecy, whether false or exact. A contest between science and prophecy. Why do I say so? Yes.
Which one is the science?
Well, let me develop the point. I said I see the contest, what is going on as a contest between science and then prophecy. I've followed Musa Dankwa. I followed his polls in the lead up to the 2024 elections.
He was the only one proving right.
He was described as a Lotto forecaster, and there were a lot of derogatory terminologies and descriptions that were tagged or labeled, on him, but he was proven right, and he's been consistent following that. But I've also seen some very calm, quiet, revered prophets who ideally would not speak. But this time they have been forceful in articulating that they have also seen something, God has revealed something to them. I'm sure we are all men of faith here.
And the NPP people, they get a vision for. Most of the time, the prophecies are on NPP contest.
Well, so he's also come out forcefully, and then so I kept asking myself that, well, this man doesn't really speak. But for him to openly come out like this, then we are in for a showdown in that contest between science, where Musa Dankwa now tells us that he's polled committed voters.
But Prof. Akabo has told us that these prophecies, good riddance, because they take the Musa Dankwa's reports. That's what he says. They take them and then they go and see this professor and say, this is how it is going. So go and say it. And they go say it.
I am unable.
That's what they say.
I heard that.
Denied that.
That's what they say.
No, I heard that.
Had denied that.
No, I heard that, but I'm unable to fully believe in what Kabo said. I heard that they themselves manufacture the results and then will go and give it to the prophets and say that they should be prophesying about.
You're a Christian who shares scripture all the time on your timeline. Do you believe in these things that, an election, people are going to vote, we must depend on prophecy?
Well, I've not said so. I think that when it comes to governance and nation building and how we want to govern ourselves, it's a choice that people make. And so I believe that if Musa Dankwa has polled committed voters, he's spoken to neighbors, people whose utterances and attitude can influence Delegate, and then he's been able to predict that somebody is going to win. To the extent that he has that track record, I am inclined to go with what the track record that he's given. But there is also another angle of prophecy that is saying that everybody will be surprised. And so I am curious, and then we look forward to seeing the outcome of the election. But I want to say that in the lead up to the previous elections, and even in the lead up to this particular elections, I know Hassan and Paul would agree that some of the party's top executives have not been able to remain as independent arbiters, and they have either openly or surreptitiously shown a certain preference for one candidate or the other in a manner that tend to undermine the level people perceive that then the level playing field that is expected for the elections to be held is a bit compromised. And this is what happened. And it is one of the factors that push people like Alan Shermanton away from the last elections. And we keep saying that the one who will win anyway. So independent arbiters must remain independent so that when the elections are over, they can intervene to bring all on board. But if clearly or surreptitiously you show that you have a preference for candidate A, and so candidate A wins and candidate B loses, it becomes difficult for you to play that role in trying to reconcile all together. And I'm saying that it happened in the last election. It was one of the factors that pushed Alan away. We warned them and they said, no, it's never going to happen. And we are hoping that it is 1 week. In politics, 1 day is even enough.
But in the bigger picture, Prof, in the bigger picture, please hold on.
Actually not factual.
Please, it's not mentioning you. In the bigger picture, there are people who are saying, these guys are just wasting their time, you know, that 2028, it won't happen.
Well, we can discuss the electoral fortunes in 2028, but now I want to limit myself to what is happening. I mean, I have a lot of things to say.
I'm going to follow that up with the suggestion that they would have needed a younger candidate. So they go join the ceremony in 2028, and then that person would have been better marketed. So people are pointing at Brian.
Well, it's up to them. It's a decision that they themselves will have to make. But if you look at the outcome of what I refer to as scientific polls, it is pointing towards a certain direction. And if that is what the delegates want, if that is what the party want, so be it. My worry is how they are able to close their ranks after the elections, given the insults that they've held at themselves and given the conduct of some of the party executives that clearly alienate them from the other contenders. It's going to be difficult. But like I said, in politics, 1 day is even enough to be able to make amends.
That's right.
And so as we go into next week, I want to see an executive of the party that plays a certain neutral role. They will vote anyway, but don't be seen to be supporting A or B. Otherwise, you don't
think sincerely that we can give the executive credit because for a very long time, you don't see or hear any of them do anything to suggest that they support any of the candidates. Can't we give them that credit? Please hold on. Yes, Prof. Our question is to Prof.
No, so I should.
No, Prof.
Yes, and the intervention is that, see, in the 2010 primaries for the 2012 elections, regional executives, constituency executives across the country came out and did press conferences and declared for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. When we were going for the 2016 elections, even national executives, constituency, regional, they invited Nana Akufo-Addo to come down from the UK when he had gone after the declaration of the Supreme Court judgment. Yeah. He went up, they forced him down, and then they declared for him. And afterwards, he won the election. Look, in this election, it is not like that. No, in this election, it's not like that. There's only one regional chairman who has been following the candidate around. Only one regional chairman has been calling one candidate.
So it is good to know. It is good to know.
It's a very level playing field.
It is good to know. I mean, it is good to know, and it's good for the party. Then it is good to know that you are telling us that what happened, if you like, in the lead up to 2024 elections is not what is going to happen, or it's not what is happening at the moment. Right. But the point is that, you see, they have not purged themselves of the open support that they gave to one of the candidates in the previous election. They've not done that. And so for me,
what should they do to purge themselves of that?
What they have to do is to find a way to openly show people that, look, in this particular elections, through even their own utterances, okay, in this particular elections, we are not supporting.
At the signing of the peace pact, the party itself said this is the situation they are in now, and actually credited the executives for not doing this time round.
Well, it will be good for the party if they really mean this. If this has not been preceded by some things that are done openly and behind the scenes to show support for one candidate or the other. But they've gone on to sign a peace pact, which we all know, though may not be binding. It's an appeal to the conscience of all of them that all of them cannot win. One person will win. And so if one wins, it is important that the person who wins is magnanimous in celebrating, and those who may lose may also have to be appealed to.
It may not be binding, but it does look like if you breach it, you have signed your death warrant from the party and any future prospects.
Well, I don't
for that
know,
kind of leadership.
I don't know how realistic that is, because they themselves agree that this is not binding, and I'm told that even before the signage, one of the aspirants almost refused to sign. And you ask yourself, I mean, why was he?
We've got some explanation. Not that it's a refusal, but it was an explanation that was sought. And anybody who wants to sign a document is entitled to seek an explanation.
Well, so
those accusing the person that the candidates had already seen the document long ahead does not mean that at the last minute they want to verify again. There's anything wrong with that?
Okay, so all in all, what I want to say is that, you see, whether the party would survive or become moribund, in my view, is dependent to a large extent on how they are able to close their ranks and how they are able to successfully prosecute this agenda before them.
Thank you very much. And this is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. We'll take a quick break. When we return, Dr. Kwabena Bonfe and Inus Afuseni will take their turn to wrap up on this subject of the NPP's primaries for Saturday for us, and then we'll move on to other issues that we have to discuss. I'll also share your comments that you have been sharing with us. And seeing that Bonfe has been reading scripture and preaching to us, we may also find out from him if he wants us to look to the prophets, some of them clearly charlatanic. I don't know, because to me, I'm a Bible-believing Christian, but if two teams are going to play a football match, you say one of them will win, and one wins. I won't credit it to you. There are 5 candidates going to standing an election. One of them will win. If you tell me one will win and that person wins, I won't credit it to you. I'll credit it to the fact that it's a process that has gone through. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. And you've just heard our guests who have shared their views, on the NPP's presidential primaries that will happen in 7 days' time. The show is brought to you by Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner, MTN. Everywhere you go, Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa, Robert and Sons, Subscale Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 plus years. My Way Insurance, dial *165# on MTN to join. My Way today, Syntex stance is strong, it's tough. Activa International, our clients are Passion International Facilities Management Association. They are proud to be associated with Newsfile. Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature. Gold Board Jewelry, pure, precious, proudly Ghanaian. And Koa Natural Juice, 100% cocoa fruit juice. Thank you. My guests, Paula Dumortri, host of Good Evening Ghana and news reporter, who make no qualms about, his political philosophy to the NPP. Kwabena Bonfe. Dr. Bonfe is lecturer, UPSA, and CEO of Senses. Professor Ransford Jampo is professor of political science and is CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority. Hassan Tampuli is MP Gushong and Deputy Ranking Member, Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament, and Inus Afuseni is former MP Tamale Central and former Minister of 2 different portfolios. And then let's now get to the 2 of them who are left to share their views with us on the NPP primaries. Yes, Kabila.
Something. In having this conversation, I look at it from the lens on our national body politic, beginning with voter psychology. over time, I want to say that a bit of engagement, practice, and reading of the political history of our country and across the globe. Money is the oil that fuels the political campaign machine. There should be no qualms about that. There seemed to have emerged a certain voter thinking that electing or voting for people into office is for them to better themselves. Mm-hmm. And so before I enable you or position you to better yourself, you need to better me, or you need to give me something in exchange for that. And this perverted view of elections, political party engagement, political party existence, including the notion, erroneous, that political parties exist solely to win power and govern. That's a lie. Political parties exist for various reasons, including shaping the thinking of the people, engaging in civic activities, and possibly even building communities. So money is an issue. The question is, how are we as a people passing a verdict on its usage and how it is applied that fits into the overall object of citizenship as outlined in Article 41 of the 1992 Constitution? Those are the fundamental issues that we should be raising. And what is happening in the NPP today, there is nothing new about it. If you take a cursory and careful look of the 1992 Fourth Republican dispensation, particularly with the parties that have sponsored presidents, the NDC and the NPP, this is nothing new. The height of claims of money. And Akunadu Ejima Rawlings told me in private, and I heard her publicly say before her death, that her hands were arm twisted in Sunyani Fonka Games, you recall? Mm-hmm. I mean, so there's nothing new about it. But the important thing is this: rationalizing and justifying by citing instances is the bane of our progress as a people. We need to accept that there is something fundamentally wrong with the way we've been doing politics in this country, in terms of how we join political parties, how people emerge into political party leadership positions, and how they serve in their offices. And then we transform that or translate that into government when the party-sponsored candidates either form majority in parliament or become the president. And something here is a point I want to make about the perversion in our politics. We don't have party-formed governments in Ghana.
Say that again.
We don't have party-formed governments.
Explain that.
What I mean is that today, President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is the President of the Republic of Ghana, elected on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress. The government of the day is not the National Democratic Congress government, but the government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And this is a big issue because even the theorists have been lukewarm about this, because there's an arrangement of what happens in Parliament where the president, by the 1992 Constitution, is mandated to form or take majority of his cabinet ministers from Parliament. So by that, the hybrid nature of a 1992 Constitution, we make it look as if the prime ministerial system, where today you have got the Labour Party led by Kaisma form government. It is a Labour Party government. It is not Kaisma government. They are different. That's the point I'm trying to make. And I'm saying that if we want to have parties form government, we should do that. And I'm making this point because almost all the presidents we have had under this Fourth Republic, their major problems in governance have always stemmed from within their political parties that sponsored them. Always, without exception. We need to be guided by how we govern ourselves according to the rules and regulations by which the parties have filed and established that they will be governed by. Two, I want to make this point that the parties that exist don't cease to exist so long as they operate. So the issue about start from the base, there's always a base. There's no time that the party's base ceases to exist. They may have even 6 months to expiration of their term of office. But until their term expires, they are the people mandated by the constitution of the party to elect. So again, I'm reinforcing the fact that it is not so much an issue of bottom up or top down that matters, but how well you do it. Because we are talking about the New Patriotic Party, I want to rely on a quotation that His Excellency, former President John Ajekun Kufuor, my father, shared with me that he took from B.J. Darocha, I think the first chairman of the New Patriotic Party. Right. He said he told him that you and I belong to the same party does not make us friends. And we don't necessarily need to be friends. But, or however, we are bound and bonded by the ethos and the principles that knit the party together. And from the Hobbesian theory of Leviathan, we've all submitted and surrendered to this overall and higher ideals. And if we are going to submit and surrender truly, faithfully to the principles that hold us together, then yes, we may be divided or express ourselves in diverse manner. All our diverse conversations should be moving into one direction, which is how we relate to one another, how we relate to the opposition to our parties or ideas, how we contribute to government, even when we are outside government, and how we help the communities within which we operate. These are the things that should be guiding us. And if we are united by them, it will only mean that we are sharing perspectives and we will be dialectical. And I'm sure that if we govern and we run ourselves together and understand that leadership is not necessarily a position of rank, but a relationship between those who lead and those who follow. And without one, the other is non-existent. If we operate within these principles, at the end of the day, it will help all of us. And the last point I want to make on this, to make it simple and tell you that I will define what...
When you spoke about Hoshen and stuff, you tend to Professor Jampo, not me. So the two of you understand what you're talking about.
Polls are good to the extent that they serve as guides. But I maintain that there is no better poll than the vote outcome. So for scientific purposes and for scientific research, you cannot dismiss polls. They are good, but you can only glean from them. And let me make this point.
We know polls that are paid for.
Yes, it's possible. They are
paid for by those who want
I'm coming.
The polls
because polling itself is engendered, it's agenda-driven. Okay, every poll, either you want to, your agenda is that you want to know the thinking of a people, or your agenda is that you want to sway voters in a certain direction, or
that's the kind of poll
you want to redirect, whatever it is.
You pay the pollster to do it to say that you are looking good.
So no poll is innocent of agenda driving. The important thing is how scientific it is and how thorough and rigorous it can be.
All right.
And here is where we need to understand that there's always a dark side of data and the dark side of research. And what I tell you today, based on what you are asking me, may be different from what I will tell Professor Jampo. I mean, asking me the same question, because I know the two of you, and perhaps I know what you are looking for, and I'll provide you that. And then when my senior Inus Afuseni comes to ask me, I'll tell him yet a third slant or a third answer.
The dark side of data.
So we need to be mindful of that.
Right.
Bottom line, unity is what everybody must prioritize, not only within the NPP, but the overall.
Does it look like this will elude them? Unity will elude them.
What I want to conclude on is that what would become of the NPP after January 31, today's week, depends on how the members of that party conduct themselves between today and that Saturday itself, and after.
All right.
The ball is in their court.
Right. Sorry. We need to go and come to the. We have two big issues. We have two big issues.
The bit where he said that political parties, a lie that political parties are formed only to contest win election. I want to clarify.
They do other things.
Yes, they do other things. What I wanted to say, I think
he said that.
I said something that came out like then I'm arguing that they are only there.
Prof, it is not in response.
It's not in response.
Okay.
The single most distinguishing feature between an interest group, a pressure group, and a political party is that political parties seek to win power. Interests of pressure groups, they just.
Thank you.
That's what I want.
What will be your concluding comments on this? Because you had the opportunity to make what sounded like your substantive submission
the concluding
on the Congress.
I really enjoyed the initial diagnostic analysis of Paul Adumachi when he sought to import into the discussions the change in demographics of
potential change.
The change. I mean, you demonstrated it.
We have to wait to see whether it has.
No. I'm not as as a result of the outcome of the elections, but you have demonstrated that there has been some demographic shift
massively
from the composition of electorates since we went democratic to now, and how will that influence the outcome of the elections? I thought that was quite interesting,
right?
And that was what I was seeking to, because if you look at the demo, if really that plays out, that should not be playing out in favor of Kennedy Japan. He appears to be one of the oldest amongst the contestants, but the youngest appears to be Brian Champo. Now if democracy,
but it doesn't mean young people will vote for a young person.
Do you buy that kind of projection that the party NPP is better off because 2028 is not available to them, so to speak? Therefore, get a younger candidate, you market, and then in 2028 the person would have been sold, and that person should be Brian Champo.
But I don't buy that. I don't buy things like...
You buy the possibility that the NPP will win power in 2028.
No, they can't. They won't.
Really?
They were struggling to put their party together.
It takes one small, big scandal.
You have not had your primaries yet.
No. They are not even coming close.
Deal with this.
They are not coming close. I mean, you see, you must look at how parties have performed in this country. If you win an election by 1,700 votes,
1,700,
1.7 million votes. Before won by Akufo-Addo won by 1 million votes.
That's right.
No, 900 and
almost 1 million.
Almost 1 million votes.
We're approximating.
In 2020, he lost 500 votes.
No.
Out of the 1 million.
500,000, yes.
Yes.
He lost about 400,000.
No, please. He lost half of the votes. So let's.
How
did he actually lose? Now, so it was clear to everybody that by 2024 the NPP will lose.
Yeah, but 2024 was.
What I'm saying, please. You need to look at the data.
2 million people did not vote.
When they wrote the stolen verdict and didn't contest the election, go and read the stolen verdict. NPP knew that by 2000 they will be winning the elections.
Oh, well.
Yes, because of and if you win elections...
So long as Kwame Penim was elected. If Penim was elected in 96, he would have won.
He would have won the election.
If Penim was elected in 96, he would have won.
There was a huge possibility.
He would not have won.
Maybe you are not in this country.
That's conjecture.
He would have won.
You conjecture. I was in this country.
Yeah, you don't remember Kwame Penim's euphoria, the movement, catching all
euphoria. You just told me about how you gathered people in Legon and to win.
Yeah, that's
euphoria.
So national mood was for Kwame Penim.
No, national mood within the
NPP would have won the election.
Within the NPP was no, it was within the NPP.
It was even global.
It is within the NPP.
You are heckling.
Oh,
allow him.
Sorry.
The second thing is that you must have known that when you win an election by 169, MPs represented in Parliament, then in the next election, you are struggling for a majority. It means that you are coming down. You should have known that. All the signs were very clear. And I'm saying that if you win an election by 189 representatives in Parliament, you're not going to lose those MPs at that, catastrophic, with that catastrophic performance of the MPP. You're not going to do that.
Oh, say?
So, yes, I'm telling you. So I don't think that MPP will come in 2028. And even history doesn't support them.
MPP sponsored, I will prefer MPP sponsored candidate.
Which history are you talking about?
Changing demographics.
Which candidate
electoral history? Electoral history in Ghana doesn't support even the claim.
I will deal with the history.
The electoral history doesn't support. The electoral cycles that way.
Since 1988. Since 1988.
No, so you can daydream.
Candidate has won an election.
You can daydream.
Was the last
what I'm saying is
won
that
an election as a change candidate of a ruling party.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying that it's open.
And with this tremendous performance,
how?
Go ahead.
I mean, you don't have an incumbent.
Unless you feel that. See, what we are saying is that when you lose, when you lose an election by such margins, and Professor Jampo, he's a political science professor. He said, look, you need to be interested in what caused you the defeat of said proportion.
We've done that.
Many people have said that within the MPP. Go try to understand what caused the election.
What is there to understand? What is there to understand?
We've done that.
There was DDEP. What else do you want to understand?
For
the first time, pensioners' money was taken away from them.
And the country was even declared bankrupt.
Exactly.
So that was what caused the election.
Yeah, that was obvious.
And we don't see, the actors who led us there are those who are struggling to lead.
The actors failed.
The actor who failed us in 2016, who lost by the 1 million votes, is back in power now.
They say that the actors faced historic situations that no leader has been confronted with before.
COVID. Stay focused. Don't mind them.
Don't mind them. You see, and that is why leading members of the party are saying that. And Jane Mesa told you clearly that you don't send rotten plantain to the market and expect it to be bought.
But it was bought.
The rotten plantain was bought.
That became referred to the late J.H. Mesa.
No,
said.
What did he say?
He said, and that it was.
What did he say?
I'm saying. He said, if you took cassava to the market and it was not bought, you don't take the same cassava to the market the following day. It was not rotten cassava.
No, assuming it was even rotten. The rotten cassava was eventually bought.
And the significance of it is that this was in Sunyani.
Unfair.
He has 5 more minutes.
Let me conclude.
No, he doesn't.
He has 1 minute.
Let me conclude by saying that I'm guided really by what Don Ivan Satamil said. In this particular case, we should have been talking about the Wifi. But you see, we have invested our time, energy, and resources into building a multi-party democracy. Our democracy will be better for it if political parties are strong. So when we speak about the MPP, we are talking about our democracy. We are seeking to deepen multi-partyism in this country. And so we do that in good faith, that when a party is strong, it puts pressure on the governing party to perform, because they know that a party will be waiting in the wings. But MPP is not demonstrating to us that they have learnt from their mistakes, or they are taking steps to correct their mistakes. And that's why we are worried. We are worried that they are perpetuating. Repeating mistakes has never been considered as experience. And that's what they are doing. They are repeating their mistakes.
But if we want to build, we don't want Ghana as a one-party state.
Yes.
Then we should all be worried if we are inching towards that because a multi-party democracy.
That's it, yes.
And so you should be concerned about what happens
in the other party.
So that it doesn't.
Yes, you should be concerned.
Become so weakened.
Yeah,
all right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
But the point is, why?
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Both of that one.
Thank you very much.
What is going on?
Thank you very much. Just reading about 2-3 messages, and then we'll go to this issue. Nana Ekuamwa Boateng Blekuma Central says that As we know, next week NPP delegates will be electing one among the 5 to lead NPP. It is my prayer that the delegates consider Bawumia as a credible and competent candidate to lead them into victory come 2028. It is possible. So these are NPP guys. Another one, Master Planner Junior, policy analyst Kintampo, says that we have less than 166 hours to go. As a delegate, I have made up my mind already. I'll vote for Dr. Bawumia, number 3 on the ballot paper. He is the most prepared, most experienced, and most formidable candidate to win power for NPP come 2028. Inshallah, it is still possible with DMB. Samuel Bryan says that even in America, where scientific polls are around 95% accurate, almost every pollster got it wrong during the President Donald Trump's second term. 7 days in politics can change a great deal. I'll urge our big men to deploy their best minds to advance their cause. Negative propaganda, scheming, arranged prophecies, and fake polls will not help our efforts to put the best foot forward. Samuel Bryan Boabeng would usually, sign off as sending the message from Awoshi. Is that it? Okay. Then this very last one says that, the last one I want to read, says that all the rush to get a presidential candidate by the NPP for the 2028 general election will yield no dividends if the party refuses to advise Ken Ofori-Atta to come down and face the law. Aside that, the good work of John Mahama has really made matters worse for their coming back to power. To redeem their image a little bit, they should advise Ken Ofori-Atta to avail himself of the laws of Ghana. And then finally, the trademark of falsehood in their DNA going forward, they must remove it from their way of life. Papa Bisu, Spintex, Accra. And as Papa Bisu says,